Happy whatever day you're watching this. Some of you are watching this on Friday with me because I always release my videos Friday morning, drinking my coffee. Cheers to those of you that are drinking your coffee with me. Today we're doing another attempt at a landscape, an abstract landscape with 2-point perspective. I will show a image and also link to a video of a previous picture I did painting called Winter Fields that I sold to my sweet friend Kim, and this is a recreation of that, revisiting the idea, tweaking the technique, also a much larger canvas. So the other one I think was 12 by 24 or maybe 15 by 30. This one is 16 by 40. So it's significantly longer in proportion than the previous one. Starting with my dual tone background that I'm loving so much lately, which is ultramarine blue and iridescent gold. And today you're going to be looking at it upside down until it's finished, just because I thought about flipping the screen so you could see it oriented correctly, but because it's not directly, the camera's not directly overhead, then it would look like you're sort of looking at it up on the ceiling, and that would just be weird. So I think you'll just have to imagine and observe it from upside down until we're done. Also, I'd like to go ahead and apologize for the light that will creep across the screen. My time was quite short with this painting session. It was a Friday afternoon. I had to be somewhere at 5. I thought I was going to be able to start painting right at like 3:30 after school was let out, but I had some kids that wanted to hang out while they waited for their bus, and gosh, I felt bad for them. Their bus doesn't come till 4. Our school lets out at 3. Their bus doesn't come till 4. That's pretty ridiculous. So they hung out with me, and I didn't get painting when I should have. And so we've got some encroaching setting sun there, which is sort of nice, right? You can imagine you're chilling on the beach while you're watching this. I don't know. Can see the trees blowing in the wind out there. So what's going on? I'm doing a swipe. You see that I did a little bit of my indigo mix at the top just to give it a darker, it's graduating towards darkness in the upper sky. And then I've mixed up a tint of ultramarine blue, which is there in the lower sky. And then I've got my gold, my burnt sienna, and iridescent pearl in the lower part of the swipe. My paper towels did not want to cooperate in this swipe. I had set the roll in a puddle of water, and so they're sort of curled up on the end. They're not a nice flat piece of paper, sort of ripply, and I was fighting that ripple as I was swiping. There's the first swipe, and I let some drips happen. Here we're going with the second part of the swipe. Fighting the ripples and the puckers again. So you might think, why are you dragging a bunch of blue down into your ground area? And vice versa, why are you dragging the ground colors into the sky? But this is purposeful. I feel like it adds a little bit of variation and interest, and also when light hits objects, those colors bounce off each other and reflect onto other objects. So I think it makes sense for the ground and the sky to share the same color palette instead of being so isolated from each other. So this is sort of the underswipe. Dual tone background, underswipe, new terms I'm making up. So I will do a second swipe here that will be a cleaner swipe that will allow me to have more pure color in the sky as well as the ground, but while still having some variation peeking out from underneath. A little more of my tinted ultramarine blue, and there's more of the pearl. Iridescent pearl is like that one color that will be in every single painting. I guess you could say my feelings about iridescent pearl are, if you're not using it, what are you doing with your life? I love me some iridescent pearl. Alright, so then I've added some burnt sienna and some iridescent gold. And you can see in this swipe I have isolated the colors a little more. I've got the blues on top and the earth tones down below. A little more burnt sienna. And we're swiping. Ooh-wee, that is lovely. I love it. I'm allowing some of the drips to fall onto the paper, but then I still do allow some drips to fall on the painting, but I didn't want an excessive amount of drips this time. Just a few. So you see now how there's more of a purity to the sky while still allowing some of those undercolors to show through, some reflections of the ground up in the sky. This is my first painting where I've incorporated the tint of ultramarine blue, and I'm liking it. Okay, so here I allowed some of the brown to come up just to add some variety again. It would be a little boring if it was uniform all the way across. So just allowing for maybe it's an insinuation of some taller trees. And you'll see that brown does sort of sink down in. It doesn't stay that strong in the final. This swipe right there, if you'll notice, I didn't spray the paper, and it was out of laziness, but like also, I don't know. It gave a different effect. It pulled more of a solid sheet of that pearl up, and I think I like it. Okay, so now that I've done the second swipe on the sky, to clean up the sky, I'm tilting because I'm trying to just check for puddles, but also I need to let that excess paint flow down. Also, a horizon right in the middle isn't quite ideal in my opinion. There's the thirds rule. There's also the golden mean, golden ratio, Fibonacci sequence, Fibonacci spiral, golden mean. I don't know if you've heard of these terms. I think it's 1 to 1.64 or something like that is the ratio. So it's not quite 2/3 to 1/3, but it's a little more interesting to the eye than some composition that is divided right in the middle. Okay, so what am I doing here? I am sort of giving myself some guidelines for the orthogonals, another vocabulary term for you today. There's the horizon line that goes directly across, and then on each extreme, the left and the right, you have your vanishing points, where if you had roads going off in the distance at a parallel, the visual trick is you make them go to those vanishing points, and it looks like they're going back into the distance, but really they're converging at those points on a two-dimensional surface. So I gave myself some guidelines, and now I'm doing some swipes. And I couldn't remember, I have done a whole series of videos playing around with this technique, and I'll again link those above as well as in the description. I tried whole paper towel swipes at these angles. I tried short stubby little cards that were cut to like a centimeter at these angles. I tried turning those on their sides and using the length. I couldn't remember which way was the way that worked, and I should have gone back and referenced my own experiments a little more, but this worked. I did sort of I guess it was like a 3-inch wide swipe, keeping it perfectly level and dragging it. That one, the corner was bent, so I had to adjust. It was digging into the paint. So you see, I'm trying to get this overlapping diagonal going on in the center, and as it comes down, the angle changes to where it emanates from the vanishing point each time and slowly fans out, fanning down and towards the bottom corners of the canvas, creating lines that look like they're coming out at you. So I'm lowering my canvas. I'm happy with the dragging down that happened. I'm just giving it a little bit of an adjustment there. And I'm going to touch up the sides because obviously I drug all the paint off of those 2 spots where I kept starting my swipes. Touching up the horizon line with a little bit of contrasting darker color. Smoothing that out, dragging a little of the brown down. And sort of reinforcing that crisp line across the horizon. I just picked up some paint from underneath in order to, again, reinforce that horizon line with a clean line. Since I tilted the canvas, the horizon got a little jagged, so I'm just trying to make it straight again. These areas that seem like distant foliage were just a little too solid for me, so I'm breaking up the space a little, mixing the paint back and forth, adding some visual interest along the way. So it's about done, and as a final touch, I decided to drag the same bamboo stick through the ground plane area to reinforce those orthogonals that emanate from the vanishing point, so the viewer gets more of a hint of those lines that are coming out at you from the distance. Alright, this is a close-up shot of the horizon area. It just keeps going and going. This painting is so long, so wide, 40 inches wide. It's almost 4 feet. in between 3 and 4 feet. That's pretty big. I'm pretty happy with it. I hope you are. This is the last of the wet shots, and then, oh, sorry about that glare. Still a wet shot. I would like to talk about the edges too. There's a dried shot. Another dried shot. The edges. Well, first of all, look at that sheen. That solid, smooth, like a baby's bottom sheen with no varnish required. Thank you very much. The edges. So my paint recipe is quite thin, a lot of you know, and I fight the edges being sort of washy and transparent. So I will go back and paint a solid coat of gold along the bottom and blue along the top to make that look a little more attractive. I promise. The edges, the sides, the profile will be addressed. But look at how that dried, guys. It's so pretty. I love it. I love it a lot. This landscape approach is really where it's at for me. I'm digging it. Let me know what you think. This painting is going to be called Fallow, Fallow, as in the fields that lie fallow, giving them a rest. I really like that tint of ultramarine blue in the sky as an added color in this. Definitely adds a little bit of variation to the sky. Yep.
Hey, did you know that I have a Patreon now as well as a Teespring account? You can support me by becoming a patron, or you could buy some merch. There's a banner down below where you can buy t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, kids shirts, also coffee mugs. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and click the bell if you want to get notified of my next videos. And as always, thanks for watching.